Later today, you'll glance at your phone just to check the time, and for half a second, you'll do a double take at what month it already is. However far into the year it actually is right now, somehow it doesn't add up. It feels like it should still be earlier. That's not a coincidence. Your brain has been quietly deleting huge parts of your life. It doesn't even know it's doing it. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why, the century-old math that predicted it, and one small, almost stupidly simple change that can make the rest of this year feel dramatically longer. Here's the simplest way to think about it. Your brain isn't a clock, it's a camera, and a camera only remembers the frames it actually takes. Monday, alarm, coffee, commute, desk, lunch, desk, commute, dinner, phone, sleep. Tuesday, same. Wednesday, same. 3 months gone. Why? Because your camera stopped shooting. When nothing in the scene changes, your brain sees no reason to take a new picture. It just reuses yesterday's frame and files it away as one long, blurry exposure instead of 90 separate days. A stack of identical, unrecorded days compresses down to almost nothing when you look back at it. Here's what's fascinating, though. This isn't only about being busy or distracted, it's physical. In 2019, Duke University engineer Adrian Beijan published research proposing that your brain's own signal pathways slow down as you age, so it physically processes fewer new images per second than it did as a kid. As the network of neurons matures, signals have farther to travel and more resistance to travel through. Fewer frames, same length of tape. Watching it back later, it plays faster. A toddler's eyes dart everywhere, drinking in 100 tiny details a minute. That's not just curiosity. That's a higher frame rate. Give it a few decades, and the same brain learns to stop filming most of what it already recognizes. But here's the part nobody tells you. It gets worse before it gets better. Saturday, same grocery store, same aisles, same order you always walk them in. Sunday, same couch, same shows, same scroll before bed. Your weekend, the 2 days meant to feel like a break, can get filmed even less than your work week because it's the most rehearsed routine of all. Here's the part that should feel almost obvious once you hear it. Ever notice how a 2-week vacation flies by while you're living it, but months later it feels like it lasted forever? That's the exact opposite trick playing out. New places, new food, new faces force your brain to start filming constantly again. Psychologist Claudia Hammond documented this in 2012 and called it the holiday paradox. Time compresses while you're living through something new, then expands afterward once your memory unpacks how much actually happened. Researchers studying it since have found people pack roughly the same number of memorable moments into 2 vacation weeks that they'd normally spread across 2 ordinary months. Every hour on that trip gets its own frame, its own distinct memory, instead of blending into the hour before it. So when you look back, that 1 week outweighs entire ordinary months sitting on either side of it. Months that left behind almost no footage at all. Your brain isn't measuring your life in hours. It's measuring it in how much of it actually bothered to record. Sit with that for a second. A French philosopher named Paul Janet noticed something related back in 1877. To a 5-year-old, 1 year is a fifth of everything they've ever lived. To an adult, that same year is a sliver. Mathematically, a year should feel smaller. With each decade, it's shrinking against a much bigger pile. But in 2013, researchers William Friedman and Steve Jansen tested that math directly against real memories, and the ratio alone didn't explain what people actually reported. Something else was compressing the feeling on top of it. That something was memory density, exactly like the camera. Here's the part most people never hear, the part that actually explains why this feels personal instead of just interesting. It isn't really age doing this to you. It's repetition. A 25-year-old stuck in an identical loop, wake, work, scroll, sleep, can feel a year evaporate just as fast as someone twice their age. And a 70-year-old who keeps learning new things, meeting new people, going new places, can report time moving slower than people half their age. Age isn't the variable. Sameness is. Think about the last time you drove home on a route you've driven 1,000 times and arrived with almost no memory of the actual drive. Or scrolled your phone at 2 a.m. and later couldn't account for where the last 40 minutes went. That's not you losing focus. That's your brain in real time deciding the moment wasn't different enough from every other moment to bother keeping. It happens to everyone. It's not a flaw, it's the camera doing exactly what cameras do when nothing new is in frame. This is the part that stings a little. Every identical commute, every rerun episode, Every scroll through the same feed in the same order is your brain quietly deciding today isn't worth filming. You're not living less. You're recording less. That entire Tuesday you can't recall by Friday, that stretch of a month you can barely place, that isn't a personal failing. That's just an unfilmed stretch of tape. But there's a way out. If sameness is what erases time, novelty is the only thing that puts it back. Not a vacation, not a life overhaul, something as small as a new route home, an unfamiliar conversation, 10 minutes doing anything you don't already do on autopilot. Researchers who study memory formation have found the brain doesn't need something huge to start recording densely again, it just needs something different enough to notice. A new coffee shop instead of the usual one. A conversation with a stranger instead of another silent commute. Even rearranging the furniture in a room you walk through every day can be enough to force your brain to actually look at it again instead of gliding past it on autopilot. Each one of those small disruptions forces your brain to start filming again the way it did automatically when you were young, when everything was still unfamiliar enough to be worth remembering. You don't need more hours in the day. You need more frames inside the hours you already have. So next time you glance at your phone and do that same double take at what month it is, remember this. It's not the calendar's fault, and it's not really your age's fault either. Next year won't feel shorter because you're another year older. It'll feel shorter only because your brain quietly decided today wasn't worth keeping. And whether that turns out to be true, whether this year gets filed away as one long blur or as 100 small distinct frames, is something you get to decide the very next time you pick that phone back up.